Hello, welcome to Mid Academy Line, Film Diet Podcast, episode 59.
Those that are watching, I hope you're sticking by us the past few months. It has been a bit quiet. Life has gotten the better of us in this case.
We've been stealthing it.
But we're back and we're here to do some more podcasts.
Yeah,
and today we're going to be talking about...
Without further ado,
Luca. So, if you haven't seen it, jump onto Disney Plus and watch it now, and then come back to this podcast.
It's free.
It's free. You can't complain about free. Disney, at the beginning of the year, was freaking out, and they were trying to line up all of their catalogue for this year. Mm-hmm. And this was one of the ones that were like, we'll just give it to you for free. They had that other...
just like Soul.
Just like Soul. They had that other Disney one come out, and they tried to do that whole, pay an extra $30 or $35 for Cruella. That's the one.
Well, they've done it for Cruella, Raya, The Last Dragon, Mulan.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're continuing. This is after they said they're only ever going to do it once.
Yeah,
They've done it another two times.
Have you heard of the controversy about this? Pixar, some of the staff at Pixar are very irate and pissed off, I should say, with Disney's move with making both of their films free, and they said that Disney is undervaluing the Pixar stuff, and they're getting a bit pissed off about it because why is it just their two films? There's the Marvel ones, Black Widow, and all the other ones that are coming out. I know there was a few that are going to be premium access as well, whereas the Pixars have all been free so far.
Very, very interesting point.
Bit of a low blow.
I wouldn't know how I'd react to it because there's a part of me that it likes the fact it's free. I can jump on and watch it.
I was pumped out.
Yeah, and so I'm loving that. But I can also see their point of view where it's like we've spent all this time and you don't even see the value in people actually having paying for this content. You're just gonna throw it on there like it's whatever it is, High School Musical.
It does make sense to me. It really does. After I heard that little thing or read about it, I thought, hang on a minute. Trust Disney to be doing this to Pixar.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if they had Frozen 2 or Frozen 3 or something like that coming out, like Raya the Last Dragon. There you go. That's the prime example right there. Why does that have to be premium access, whereas both Pixars aren't?
It's an interesting point because, okay, look, you look at Cruella or Mulan, I understand that. That's Hollywood blockbuster with very expensive, money being put on. They want to try and recoup some of that. But then you Raya, which is, effectively, in theory, a similar budget with similar teams, mm-hmm. with a very similar
There's no
film
excuse for that.
That's right. So, and they're both 3D animation. So why is that? That's interesting. Look, personally, I would love to get them all for free, but this isn't how the world works. But if I was the creator of, a Pixar film and they said, all right, we're just going to give it out for free. Look, there's two sides to it. There's the creative side where you're like, this is great. More people get to watch my content. Mm-hmm. And then there is the ego side of it where it's like, well, my film, I think is good enough for people to pay for it, so why don't they pay for it?
Well, I mean, people would pay for Pixar stuff. They always have.
Yeah, I think it's just it's just a decision they decided. They looked at the figures, they looked at the money for this year, what all the films that were made, and they said, right, Raya, that's almost like we can get all the kids involved and they're going to love it. That's probably their reasoning behind it. We've got all these big blockbusters which, have the mainstream following for all these films, and everyone loves them, and it's going to make us lots of money, so let's get the money for it. Yeah, then we've got these other films that don't really have that same... obviously, there's people like us film buffs, who are going to love it. Other than that, it's a family film. Let's put something on. What is it? Oh, cool, this new film, Luca, has come out. Let's chuck it on. Rather than, we're going to have to pay money. I might as well wait 3 months for it to become... Not to downgrade the film, and we're about to talk about the film, but... you're just trying to look at it, I guess just looking at clear numbers of it, just trying to forecast how it would do and the reaction people might have to it in the future.
All right. Well, you can You can go the positive route on that one.
Anyway, we've got to try both sides. Anyway, I did my best. Anyway, let's begin with the film Luca.
Yeah.
So let's begin with your thoughts. Let's go just
Well,
a blanket views of the film.
Last night, I was like, what am I going to watch? What am I going to put on? And then I was like, hang on a minute. Luca, that's out. Which I just happened to find that it had been released, that day before or something like that it was coming out. And I was like, hang on, it's the 28th or the 18th or whatever. And I was like, oh, it's out. And it's free. Sweet, play. And as soon as that played, I was like, here we go. This feels good. Looks good. And it was brilliant from beginning to end. Loved it. Every aspect of it. There wasn't too much I did not like about it. It's straight up there for me as what Pixar should. It's a prime example of what Pixar should be doing. And it was brilliant. I give it like four stars out of 5, I reckon.
Good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at this in 2 different ways.
Okay,
right?
cool.
So the first one's the story. This is to me classic Pixar.
Yep.
Where it's focusing on a simple story, not overcomplicated. It tells a simple story, not too many characters. Everyone can follow along. It's got those clear story beats that you expect to see in a Pixar film.
Absolutely.
And it wraps up very well at the end.
It does.
So that's all great. Art style. I'll say a little bit about the art style, then I'll throw it to you before I continue because it'll be good to get the art style out.
I'm glad you're getting a bit more complicated because I was not.
So the art style here, I really liked it. It's a change to the Pixar sort of style where they go for more just like generic, simplistic. There is that sort of Pixar sort of interesting curves to a Pixar film.
Yep.
This was a bit more cartoony, probably not the right word for it, but a bit more stylized.
Yeah, stylized.
And it does lend back to, I guess, this film lends itself to more of when you're creating a film or you're doing storyboards or something. There's a very hand drawn aspect to it, almost a 2D cartoony kind of approach. This is stealing elements of that and throwing it into the overall, canvas, right? So,
absolutely.
For instance, you can look at the characters when they're facing front on; they just look like a character. Obviously, their mouth is very expressive and things like that. They turn side on, and all of a sudden, the mouth you can when they open their mouth, you can see all the way through it like you would if it was a cartoon film or you were drawing it by hand.
Yeah.
So they've obviously been things that a normal person would just watch and just accept it. But then you look at it, these are very hard things to do in 3D animation. So there's a lot of stuff that they have to do to make it do this. You can't just tell a computer to do this. It'll just, if the character was side on, you're not going to have the exact same clear, expressive, silhouette that this does. You have to do extra stuff for that to happen.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. I did like the fact they're going for a different style, and it did really evoke that kind of Mediterranean, Italian aesthetic that they sort of went for here. So I think that was really good. I'll hand it to you, Brandon, so you can say your thoughts.
Man, that was really good. I liked your in-depthness there. That's exactly how I felt. Obviously, this film is heavily inspired, or one of the main inspirations for this film was Miyazaki's films, Porto Rosso. That's why the town is called Porto Rosso.
Yeah.
But actually, when I was watching it, I had those vibes about it. I was thinking, this feels like one of his kind of. It's got the flair of a Miyazaki film, It's got like this thing about it that just, I don't know. There was something about it. Could have been the colors, the vibrancy, the stylization, even the kind of quirkiness of the humor and of the characters, And
almost there's almost a roughness to it in that they weren't they were trying hard to make things not look so picture perfect.
Yeah, it had a very rough is a good way of saying it, I suppose. I'm trying to think of more of a hand drawn kind of element to it, a bit more of a storyboardish, painterly feel to it,
Yeah.
which I absolutely adore. Like I found this film to be very refreshing. I mean, I've actually liked a lot of the more recent Pixar ones, say Soul, this one,
Yeah.
and Coco. I thought was another pretty bold step of them, just to be going to different cultures and trying different sort of material, I suppose, stuff that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
You know, they're more challenging, and that's what Pixar should be doing.
Trying to reinvent themselves and not just trying to
Yeah.
live off the same franchises or the same themes or the same sort of stories, the same sort of Western style stories like they have been.
It's just an interesting... It's interesting, I suppose, is the word to put it. It's something about it. It just oozes this kind of creative exploration, and really captures the essence of the two boys, the main young character, and you know he befriends the other guy, Alberto, I think his name is.
Yeah.
And I just found all the characters in it quite memorable, and interesting, you know, to an extent. There's this one part in the film when, you know, when his mum's like, "I'm gonna send you down to the bottom of the sea,"
Yeah.
and his
Yeah.
uncle, it's got that the light on his head, that fish,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, you'll be floating down there with whale chunks going in your mouth," and then, you know, it's all this sort of
I
stuff.
reckon that must have been just ad libs. It was hilarious.
Yeah, well, it was Borat, you know, that
Yeah,
actor,
yeah.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
So they would have let him just go, have fun.
Yeah, he just run wild, man. I wonder how many takes he did of different sort of stuff.
Yeah.
If that was the case. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
even the concept, just love the concept about sea creatures come out of the water and they're human boys. Obviously, there's a lot of, for me, you could go into that whole thing and be like, well, that's just, you know, it's pretty mental as a concept. And how does that kind of work, you know, like for them to sort of exist out on, you know, above water, and, you know, all the, like when the rain's coming and things like that, like all the instances you could have where there's, you know, they could be revealed as sea monsters, you know, the glass of water that gets splashed or whatever it could be. I mean, you could go into a whole kind of minutia about how that's just like feels like a bit of a loose concept, like it's not a very tight concept in that regard, but I don't think it needs to be at all. It didn't bother me. It was just, it's just a light-hearted film about friendship and obviously all those sorts of things. But I guess I forgot what I was sort of, where I'm going with all this, but I suppose what I need to say is that, you know, it's just such a beautiful animated film, you know, that captures that Italian Riviera sort of destination perfectly. From seeing the trailer of it, I thought, what's this film even going to be like? And it, you know, is this what it's going to be? And is that it?
Yeah.
And then they just have a way of, Pixar has a way of just exceeding my expectations in a way that I just, you know, that it feels like I'm watching animations again like a kid, you know, when it's all fresh and new and you sort of take into these worlds and stuff like that, and it all feels very sort of fresh. So yeah, that's my...
Yeah, it's especially for us in the depths of winter right now, it's bloody freezing in Melbourne right now.
True.
And to watch this and just, you can always feel the heat coming off the pavement.
Yeah.
They've got ice cream and they're in the sun and they're having a good time.
I was thinking the exact same thing in those parts. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
you know, that looks fun.
All right, so you know, all in all, I agree, it's a good film. There is a few things I'd like to point out though that are missed opportunities. I'll put it as that.
Yeah, cool.
I'm not going to say they're negatives necessarily, but personally, I think they're missed opportunities.
Okay, great. No, that's good.
So,
because of yeah, go for it.
So the first one would be, you know, they've created this world with it's quite a small world, really. You've got the underwater sections, you've got the the sort of the beach area, in the deserted beach area and the top of that little building, and you've got the town, and that's all it is, right?
Yeah.
So I really wish they really did what Pixar are really good at doing, and really fleshing out the environments. I just felt like sometimes when they're in the city or the town, it just looked a little bit too simplified, and there wasn't enough detail from what I expect for a Pixar film. It looks like what I'd expect from any other studio, but I'm watching this, you know, the courtyard scene. There's all the people running around and playing and stuff, but I just felt like they needed more stuff in there, more detail, more immersion
I'm
to
glad you said that.
fill it out.
Yeah, now that you mention that, you know, when the two boys were saying, "Oh, we're going to go on the Vespa and travel all around the world." You know, I thought they might, or when the girl's like, "Oh, I'm going to go to school on the train." You know, I thought there might have been a moment where they would break away from that environment. And it would open up a bit more, and would have a moment, maybe in the third in the third sort of section of the film. You know, like it might open up a bit more. And then they kind of just went that easy route of it, just staying very simplified. It all comes down to that race. And yeah, this is my little thing about the film. You know, it didn't really feel like there was much stakes.
Yeah,
it was
not at all.
Yeah, there was like no stakes.
Not
It
at all.
was just such a simple, just became such a small scale story in the end. And you know, I'm not saying it's a negative necessarily, because it didn't like ruin the experience for me. It just felt like there could, like you're saying, there could have been a bit more world building, or you know, expanding upon the scope a little bit.
I did like they had those little cutaway scenes where they were in the imagination and seeing different things. That was a fun play to break up those sort of areas. But you're right, I just felt like they needed to expand on the world, add more detail to the world, and just make it feel like a Pixar film, when the Pixar are so good at their environments and making a world feel huge, large, you know, and just feeling so detailed. And this one, obviously they're trying to strip it back, but at the same time, I think they probably could have found a nice medium where it looked artistic, simplified in a way, but yet it still had that Pixar depth and grit to it.
Yeah.
The other point I wanted to point out, right? So I'm just going to talk this one out.
Yeah, go for it.
So this is a world, right? So talk about the story, you know. These are these sea creatures in a world where these sea creatures are hated and hunted, you know, for whatever reason, right? So, you know, they've built this whole city, and the fountains with the sculptures and stuff like that, where they're killing these animals, and obviously this is rooted deep down in the psyche of these people.
True.
They are afraid of these creatures, right? And then what happens? One guy accepts them, and at the end there, and it's all happy days.
It's all fine.
And so
They
I just
buddied up
feel,
with the right guy.
yeah, and I just felt like, if this is something so, like, especially looking in real life, right?
Yeah.
You know, how so much hate and division is created inside people.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens, they're always going to hate and divide and you know, see negative in and I assume that's what they were going for. But I just felt like it just seemed like it was like they were like, "Oh, you are one of those creatures, but meh, doesn't matter. She'll be right."
It was
And I
very
just felt-
brushed under the rug very quickly and easily. There's not one character was like, "No, I'm going to harpoon him anyway. My father's father's father." You know?
Yeah.
You know, you're completely right there. It just felt
And
like...
so I think one way they could have solved this, right? At least don't worry about all the other characters. Let's focus on the father, right? The father is clearly, this is deep down in his psyche. So why don't we have the father knowing a little bit earlier that he's a sea creature, and we see the character development of the father slowly accepting him, not to walk up and be like, "Oh shit, he's going to kill me." "Oh no, it's okay, don't worry mate, you are friends." So I didn't really see that sort of character development within any of the characters. They just sort of were like, it's all good. And they moved on. So
I guess I guess that all comes down to what we were saying about just being very oversimplified, such a small scale and oversimplification for such a pretty. It's a pretty full-on concept to be going that simple on.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah, that's right. It is, if you're trying to reflect, this has so many reflections on real life, right? There's so much there. And I just think they needed to look at real life a little bit more, rather than just trying to connect dots in the story and trying to make it set story points. You know, they
Good
just,
call.
they just kind of, just that last act, they could have rejigged so there was a bit of character development in it, not so just whiplash. We hate these people. Oh no, it's all good because you're our friends. We're going to accept you all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So.
No, man, you nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. And, you know. Oh, well.
Anyway, overall, it's a great film. These are very, very minor things that
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, we've got to talk about something. I mean, it's not...
At the same time, it's a beautiful film. It's lovely.
Yeah.
It does paint a beautiful world, and I'm glad they're trying something new, trying a new art style, and they are showing different cultures in different ways.
Yeah.
And so I applaud them for doing that. I think they should continue doing that. There's plenty of different cultures. Hopefully they'll do an Australian Pixar film. Imagine that.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, they had a little bit of Nemo, didn't they?
Yeah.
They
They showed off all that, which is great.
Yeah.
Do you know what would be really cool? You know, a Pixar film that's inspired by Aboriginal art, though, because there's such a deep, rich history of art within the Aboriginal culture.
Yeah.
And I reckon there's a film there that's just been dying to get made.
Yeah. Well, write the script and get it done.
Make it happen.
Make it happen. That'd be amazing if they could get.
Yeah.
That could happen, you know. I mean, they've done Moana and, you know, explored kind of like, Pacific Island sort of regions with Lilo and Stitch and stuff. Hawaii, I suppose. And
I reckon it's the Rescuers Down Under. They're worried that that's going to happen
because that failed.
Yeah, that's right. So,
yeah, I love that film.
it's a great film. I love it too, but I think it's only Australians that loved it. So
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Good call. Yeah, but yeah, overall, I'm looking forward to seeing what Pixar come up with next, and it's a great step in their future, you know.
Yeah, I think so. They're showing that they're willing to let other filmmakers have their voice, and they're not just relying on the same core 2 or 3 directors on repeat.
That was getting very scary for a while there.
Yeah, that's right. And the same with franchises. And it was a bit sad there for a few years where Pixar were just trying to create
Disney-esque.
a franchise out of all there. That's right. They're just like, let's make a sequel.
Yeah.
We need a sequel. We need another Cars. Mm-hmm. And this time they're going to be detectives because that's funny. Or spies.
God. Yeah, I'm not sure what they've got. If they've announced anything, is that it for the Pixar until like that the TV shows come out? I think that's
well, that's all I'm aware of. Yeah, that's right. We're all just waiting for those TV shows. The Buzz Lightyear one.
Yep, there's a Buzz Lightyear one. There's a Baymax one, and I think there's another one called Turning Red.
Yeah, that's right. That looks a lot more like cartoony.
Yep, like a big raccoon thing.
Mm-hmm. I guess they're probably in a stage where they're just restructuring to fit in a post Disney Plus world or a new Disney Plus world where they want
post-COVID Disney Plus era.
They just have to work out where Pixar fits in the whole big scheme of things, where they can't just chuck it on the movie screens and have another Finding Nemo moment.
I'm sure they've got another sequel coming out, you know.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely, they'll be on it.
I'm just trying to think what would be due for a sequel.
Usually it's whatever's they haven't touched. It would be a Bug's Life.
No, they ain't gonna touch that. No way.
They better not. If you touch a Bug's Life, I will watch it.
Oh, yeah, they've got the Monsters TV show, Monsters University, not Monsters, whatever that is.
Right.
It's a TV
show.
show.
I've kind of given up on that. They can do what they want.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Me.
It's not precious to me at all.
Yeah, that's right. So,
But if you were to rank
Sounded it.
your Pixar films as a last little thing, addition to this podcast,
yeah,
where would you rank, if you could name them all off the top of your head,
yeah.
run through it with me right now.
Right.
What's your ranking?
So, original Toy Story is always going to be number one.
Cool.
Sentimental value, you can't escape it. I saw that when I was very young,
Yeah.
and it's stuck in my psyche.
Mm-hmm.
Following with the next one that's stuck in my psyche is A Bug's Life.
Wow.
Then I would probably say Wall-E. Wall-E's probably the most well-made film.
Yeah.
Me as a filmmaker would probably put Wall-E as number one. Me as a film lover or someone who appreciates film, as a person, a regular viewer, would be number three, just because the other ones are so
Classic.
close to my heart.
Yeah.
And then probably, it's probably a bit wishy-washy from that point, right? Because they've got great films for different reasons. There's a lot that I really liked. Inside Out, I really liked. That'll probably be my top 8. If I was doing top 8,
Yep.
It could be in the top 5, but I'd have to really think about it.
Yeah.
This one would probably be this would definitely be in the top 8. Then there's others like The Incredibles, number 1, the original.
Yeah.
That one was came at a very special time.
Yeah.
Where we're looking for something new like this, and it was a well-made film, and it really had its spot.
Nemo.
And Nemo, of course, that's definitely in the top 5. That is
I'd say that
one that.
That would be after Wall-E.
Yeah.
For
definitely.
me, it's probably going to be. I'm going to have to go with Toy Story number 1 because you can't.
Yeah.
You can't, but not. Then I'd probably go Wall-E. Followed by Incredibles.
Yeah.
Then Nemo.
Yeah.
Then. This is where it gets a bit wishy-washy.
Yeah.
I'm like Up. Maybe Up.
Up will be there, but it's probably not the most memorable to me. Just the beginning of it is.
Yeah, the replayability on it's not as much. But yeah, you're pretty accurate there. I mean, Bug's Life would have to be up there as well because that was pretty big for me too. But to be honest, yeah, as long as Cars 2 and all those shitty sequels,
Well, that's the same thing. That's the sad thing about it. I don't think they should have ever been a sequel. Obviously, the second Toy Story happened for a reason because it was just their weird period at the beginning where they had a success and they had
that one felt
Disney
justified in the end anyway. After it came out, I didn't even think twice about it. Just was like a given. But obviously, sequels after that point, there probably shouldn't have been any.
No, they should have just given up. But look, this is all. They've got their reasoning for it, and they probably sold a ton of toys and made lots of money.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the game.
That's the game.
It's a film business. It's not a film fun.
It's not all about.
Unless you're in Australia where it's all funded by taxpayers, and then it's all just whatever. Make whatever you want to make.
Yeah,
It'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there you go. That's the Pixar Luca. We did a podcast and sold, didn't we? Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we're doing pretty well in that regard. But we're doing the animated films, pretty covering those. We did Raya. We've done this, and yeah, that's good.
And so I guess we'll leave it there. So thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, ring that bell if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can watch it on YouTube. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one.
Adios.
See you later.
Thanks for watching Mini Academy Online. If you'd like to explore more about content, click on this or click on that. Like and subscribe, thumbs up, ring bells, do a dance, sing a song, drink a hot cup of tea or coffee, and I'll see you in the next one.